Hey footwear fanciers and shoe surveyors, it's Ed, Eddbud here. I've got an initial review for you today from the masters of running value, Reebok. Today I've got a slightly more grown-up version of the Energy 4 for you, the FloatRide Energy Symmετros 2. This is more of a plush partner to the Energy 4. Let's examine this recent drop on the Reebok website. Welcome footwear friends, and thanks for joining me on the channel. If running shoes are your game, then by Jove, you're in the right place. Support the channel with a subscribe, and also don't forget to give this video a thumbs up like, hit the bell and share this video to spread the good word. It also helps to keep the shoe supply plentiful if you give us a super thanks down below. Stats wise, the Symmetros 2 comes in a touch heavier than the Energy 4, but not by much. Do be aware I've gone down a half size in this model. I have been doing that recently with Reebok releases. 295 grams here, or 10.4 ounces in my UK size 10.5. I did the same thing with the Energy 4 Adventure. It seemed to be absolutely perfect in terms of fit. Though with winter coming, you might want a little bit of extra length, so just think about it. I'm measuring about 37mm of heel stack here, and around 27mm in the forefoot. Reebok reckon on a 10mm drop for the Symmetros 2, and that's pretty much what I got here. This is a shoe I've picked up with my own cash, my own earth credits, though actually Reebok did say they'd send me a pair just after that, but hey, I'd already bought them by then. These do retail for 100 earth credits here in the UK, but I got them for 66 quid, which is not to be sneezed at. We will start the review with the upper first. So I got about 10 miles into these, what's that, about 16 kilometers, something like that. Initial runs, a 3-layer mesh here. I have to say it's very comfortable on foot. There's a whole menagerie of different types of materials here in the upper, ranging from a little more coarse in the tongue through to super soft in the heel. The major upper difference between this version of the shoe and the first one, I think really is upper fit. Can just achieve a much better lockdown in the Symmetros 2. They've improved those stabilizing elements that we've got in the upper, and that's just meant that the actual lockdown on top of the midsole was actually improved quite a bit. It's a bit more assured. I would suggest that the upper here is a little bit more plush than the Energy 4. That feels a bit like a dragster compared to this one, which is a bit like a high-end Mercedes. I wouldn't say it's overly plush though by any stretch. Still a lovely breathable toe box here in the Symmetros 2. The foam padding around the Achilles is very soft and welcoming. It's conforming too. It doesn't really feel like it's there, but you know that there's something cupped around your foot. If the Energy 4 was a little bit too present in the toe box, here you've got a bit more width, though I would suggest that the depth is a little lower. The Energy 4 is a little bit generous to me in terms of upper materials. This one's a little bit more on point. Lacing wise, we have these flat, slightly perforated laces in the sail colour. They don't really give at all. There isn't a elastic feel about them. I guess the strangest element of the whole shoe is that quite coarse tongue, though it seems to work just fine. I didn't notice it at all on my initial runs. It does give the shoe a slightly sort of unfinished, kind of deconstructed look, and I kind of like it. In fact, this is one of the best looking shoes that I've tried out in a long time. I love it. Reebok shoes seem to be a little bit like Marmite. You either love them or you hate them. This one looks absolutely fantastic to me. There is like a makeshift pull tab here on the tongue that I didn't need. I can safely say it's one of the most comfortable uppers I've run in a long time. Padding where needed, and it's really easy to dial in a good fit. Reasonable upper sizing and perfect fit a half size down. I'm going to give it a 2.8 after my initial runs for the upper. Certainly not sponge-like, but plush, but still breathable. Midsole now. Midsole wise is the same unit as we saw in the last version of the shoe. I think that was out like 2 years ago or something. It is a little bit taller than the Energy 4 in the heel. I think we've got about 6 or 7mm extra back in the heel. Absolutely identical to the first version of the Symmetros, so if that worked for you, then you're in for a good time. I really enjoyed this one in terms of a steady pace vibe. Certainly not one I'd go for if pace training was required, or something up towards my goal half marathon effort. Though for marathon training, I think this shoe's going to be absolutely perfect for me. I ran a marathon a couple of years back just to see if I could do it. Ran about 7 minutes 45 seconds per mile. That's about 4 minutes 49 per kilometre. It felt absolutely fantastic at that pace. The transition from heel to toe is really smooth. I think that is assisted by this sort of firmer piece that you've got in the rear heel section. just seems to smooth everything out on your foot landing. We do have a tiny bit of extra width in the heel here over the Energy 4. The expanded polyurethane midsole that we've got here in the Symmetros 2 certainly handles a little bit like Boost, though it is more cushioned, slightly more spongy than that substance. The cushion is further amplified as well by a very soft insole, and some more of that insole material is on top of the midsole too. There's like another layer there that really does help to deaden things out. I view this midsole as a balance between cushion, weight and durability. It's got the right amounts of each to make it a really usable daily trainer for some easy or recovery speed. Not too heavy like some of the overly plush max cushion shoes that we've seen over the last couple of years. I did mention earlier about the upper. It does give a better lockdown and connection on top of that midsole, certainly when you compare it up over the original Symmetros. Could be one of those great tool type shoes that you bring out to use for some easy or recovery type runs, and an absolute long run candidate on a budget. I'll give this a 2.8 out of 3 for the midsole after my initial runs. Outsole now. Outsole wise, somewhat of a protrusion party here. There's a lot more rubber than we have on the Energy 4. Patterned lugs are plenty, which handle wet leaves and sludgy underfoot conditions just fine. The plentiful nature makes for a very smooth transition from heel to toe. I found grip was good on roads and concrete, as you would expect from this type of shoe, and very good on gravelly paths as well. There's very few places for debris to hide away here. There is a slight cutout in the outsole there, but you can access it pretty easily to clean it out. The Achilles heel here though is in the heel where that Reebok logo is. I did get some grit and small stones stuck in there, and the jeweler's screwdriver was required. Reebok always seem to be able to come up with some very usable designs here in the outsole. The Energy 4 Adventure was an absolutely superb effort in terms of outsole design, and this one works just fine. It does the job. There are some more ridges and lugs here than in the Energy 4. Just feels a little bit more serviceable across a variety of different surfaces, which is essential really to get ready for those winter months bound to hit at some point soon. It was far too mild out there on my run today. I mean, it's mid-November. I could have quite easily worn a vest. And the short shorts as well. I bet we get a right pounding from the rain and wind soon though. It's just a matter of time, surely. The Symmetros 2 though will be ready. Hard to rate it lower than a 2.7 for the outsole after my initial runs. Only the rear debris hoover capabilities lowering the score a little bit. And it's a very thick application of rubber here. I'm not entirely sure I need all of that, especially being quite a slight gentleman. Value now. It's 100 smackaroonies at retail for this one, but as you know, in the UK, Reebok have almost always got a sale on. Even if I had to have paid 100 for these, I would not have been disappointed. I mean, Reebok shoes are massively overlooked. So many people dismiss them because they don't have a swoosh or 3 stripes on the side. The Symmetros, though, really does live up to its name. Beauty of form, arising from balanced proportions. I mean, literally, that is symmetry, and that's what you got here in the Symmetros 2. It's a really nice shoe, a balance between materials and fit, comfort and functionality, cushion to weight. It really is spot on. You've got a sub 300 gram shoe here with this much stable cushion. It's something to behold. It's got a lot of shoes over the last couple of years that have been max cushion and been a bit of a letdown. The Symmetros feels a bit more like a shoe that you can use on a more daily basis, and especially a more value-orientated shoe. There's nothing worse than a shoe that just kind of fits into one little pigeonhole and you occasionally use it. I find the ones that are a little bit more versatile are ones that you grab for that bit more often. And it's nice to get some value for your hard-earned earth credits. Just to mention about quality, I find actually Reebok shoes have very few production issues. There's a tiny little bit of sloppy paintwork on the rubber underneath, but each shoe is within a gram or two of the other, and that's great. That's not always the case. Remember these bad boys? Yeah, just feels like a nice good quality product straight out of the box. I'm going to give these a 2.7 out of 3 for value after my initial runs. I'm very happy with my purchase, in fact. Just think about this, you could buy 4 pairs of these for the price of 1 pair of the Alphafly Next Percent 2. Just let that sink in for a moment. So if I've added the scores up properly, that gives us an 11 out of 12 overall score for the Floatride Energy Symmetros 2. If the Energy 4 worked for you, but you wish there was a little bit more underfoot cushion, then this is the shoe for you. A better, more fitting upper here that's less generous with the materials. Are you a Reebok fan? Will you be picking up the Symmetros 2 very soon? Perhaps you're going to put it underneath your tree. Furnish me with your thoughts down in the comments. Musical interlude time. Today it comes from Open Mike Eagle with the new album Component System with Auto Reverse. Now this is really my vibe when it comes to hip hop. Fantastic, unexpected sounds, a bit like a patchwork quilt. Lots of different textures, lots of different samples pulled from all over the place. It's a less aggressive delivery as well from Open Mike Eagle. He approaches some really interesting subjects here as well on this album. 79th and Stony Island has a really nice catchy chorus. I'm really enjoying the drums there and the looped piano parts. The production at times does sound like it's been lifted straight off some old mangled TDK cassette. It's just been left sun-drenched somewhere and it's slowly oxidized and lost some of its fidelity. Some super crunchy sounds on some of the tracks. And Peak Lockdown Raps actually is a really good one. Actually feels quite a lonesome vocal delivery there. Sort of deprived of any connections, which is how people felt during the lockdown, I think. There's a vocal effect that's been applied that actually makes it sound like the rapper's kind of talking in his head, like it's a stream of consciousness. He mentions the year that didn't happen. Yeah, a lot of us felt like that. Fantastic emotional stuff here from Open Mike Eagle. Check this one out, Component System with Auto Reverse. Right, it's about that time for me to mosey on out of here and get some editing done. If you're enjoying the content and you're yet to do so, hit that subscribe button and click the bell below for notifications. Also give this video a thumbs up like and share it with your running buddies. My name's Eddbud and I'll be seeing you